Hey everyone, this is Don and Ryan with Side Draft Media coming to you with another episode. We're officially on episode 3 of our podcast. We're really excited to be here with you guys and we really appreciate everyone being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That way, y'all can get much more content from us moving forward. Ryan, how the heck are you doing, man? Are you surviving this Olympic break or what?
I'm surviving it, but man, I'm feeling for some racing. I tuned into the ARCA race last night just to scratch the itch a little. So
Oh,
how
yeah.
about
Oh,
you?
yeah. Oh, I've been all over YouTube and checking out older races. I checked out a Talladega race from 2003 and 2004. Checked out a couple Bud shootouts from back in the day. Just getting that, like you said, getting that itch scratched and just enjoying racing where we can. That the ARCA,
Absolutely.
of course, they always put on a show. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. Um, but we are not short of news, especially as this Olympic break rolls forward. We've got a ton of stuff to talk about. Right off the bat, man, we need to talk about Rowdy Busch. Apparently, there's been some photos
Yes.
rolling around online of what looks to be like a hurt wrist. Looked like he might have been in a brace. Man, what do you got on that?
Well, shout out to our executive partner Nathan for uncovering a photo that Samantha Bush had quickly deleted off of her Instagram with Rowdy wearing the wrist brace. So we posted that actually to our social medias. If you haven't seen it, you can follow us at Side Draft Media on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. But yeah, this is huge news. In those pictures, you could kind of see the ones that she didn't delete with the family. On the side that's hurt, he's hiding it from photos like this, so he'll have his arm behind somebody. There was one photo in particular where you do see the top portion of the brace in between like somebody else's arm right here, at a dinner table. So I mean, I hate that it leaked for him. If they want to break it, when they want to break it, I get it. He's on vacation with his family in Italy. Hope they're having a great time. Uh, I hope he's okay, but
Right.
this could have some major implications for racing going forward, and especially with the playoffs coming up. And the A team's been struggling. They need Rowdy behind the wheel if they're going to get into the postseason.
Now, of course, until RCR decides to release any information on what's going on with that wrist, we don't expect Rowdy to miss any time or anything like that. We probably would have heard about that information already.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, but at the same time, we are in a 2-week break, so they could be playing the card of let's hope it heals, and we don't have to worry about it, or we get to a week away from Richmond, and it's not healed, whatever it is that he may have going on with that wrist or hand or whatever it may be. That they'll have to uncover that at that time, but there's definitely something there, and people don't walk around with wrist brace on for no reason. So who knows? It could be something that happened at the Indy, the Brickyard. There was a rumor circling that we uncovered that said he had trouble taking his helmet off after the race. That
Correct.
he needed some help getting his helmet off. Um, there's some jokes around on our pages when we shared about Bubba having an iron fist. When they gave him a fist bump because Kyle was nice enough to push Bubba Wallace back to pit road after they had run out of gas to finish the Brickyard. So jokes aside, again, we hope he's okay. It's pure speculation right now what's going on. We don't know if this is something that happened in his incident at Brickyard, if it's something been bothering him for a while. Drivers, they're athletes. They're tough. They race injured. They have personal lives too. So it could have been something that happened outside of a racetrack. We don't know. I mean,
Right.
Chase Elliott hurt himself skiing, and because of the extent of the injury, we found out right away.
Right. He
There's
said he was
been,
scared to call. He was scared to call Mr. Hendrick on that one.
right. I mean, I'd be afraid to make that phone call too. Like,
Absolutely.
boss, I can't drive the car this weekend.
By
Like,
the way.
yeah. I mean, and Alex Bowman had a sprint car injury. There's been injuries that happen outside of NASCAR, inside whatever, but they're just people like us at the end of the day, and people need to realize that too. So, like I said, we don't want to speculate. It could be nothing serious. It could be something a little bit more that they're taking caution to. Who
Right.
knows?
It's
Who knows?
definitely something we're going to keep y'all updated on. Something we'll follow much more close as the Olympic break moves forward. Something else we need to discuss is Corey LaJoy and being out at Spire Motorsports. That leaves an open
Yeah.
7 car. That's big stuff, man. Especially with Spire on the rise. Who's favorite to take that 7 spot?
And I'll tell you, I did not have Corey LaJoy being out of the 7 car in 2025 on my Olympic break bingo card. I did not have that
Right,
happening. I didn't
right.
have the Rowdy Busch thing either, for that matter. So, guys, thank you for giving us something to talk about this week. But yeah, that's huge news. If you recall, Don, that Michael McDowell left the 34 team to join Spire Motorsports, and he's in the 71 car. They seem to
Okay.
lock him and attach him when he signed with Spire Motorsports to the 71. So they gave him a number. Now, the 71 is currently occupied by Zane Smith, who is at Spire Motorsports, kind of on lend from Trackhouse Racing.
Right.
Trackhouse has a roster of a driver development program like no other. I mean, they have SVG in the wait for a ride. They have Zane Smith, in the 71 car right now, getting Cup experience. And then, their regular drivers, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, they're not going anywhere. So where do you put these guys? So they came up with a lend to Spire, kind of like SVG's on lend to Colleague Racing.
Right.
So with Zane Smith now not on lend anymore after the 2025 season, he'll need a seat because Michael McDowell took that spot. But the 7's open. Now the 7 has a new crew chief. Rodney Childers signed with Spire Motorsports after the whole Stuart Haas debacle. Them separating as
You
a
want to talk
team.
about busting bingo cards? That one right there was a buster right there.
Yeah, as somebody with a little bit of insider information, the whole Stuart Haas thing, I kind of had that feeling. There was that feeling going around the garage that maybe they get rid of a charter. They downsize a little bit. Nobody saw them downsizing 3 cars, and at one point 4. But
Right.
Gene Haas stepped in and said, "No, I'd like to keep a car. I'd like to keep our Xfinity program going as well." So they have open seats. That open seat was filled by Cole Custer, so he takes over the Haas factory team ride, and so currently in a Cup seat at Stuart Haas Racing, were chosen, which I kind of thought that was a little odd, but I know there's family ties to Cole Custer.
Right.
Gene Haas has some family ties to Cole Custer. He's very close with the Haas team and family. So, and hey, flowers to Cole Custer. He just won an Xfinity championship. He won the Xfinity race at Pocono a couple weeks ago. The guy has experience. We know he has what it takes to get it across, the start finish line P1. And that's what team owners are looking for. They want consistency, and they want a guy that they can build a program around. And they believe Cole Custer is that guy at Gene Factory. I'm sorry, at Gene Haas factory team. So,
Right.
yeah, lots of silly season stuff though going on in the world of NASCAR.
Oh yeah.
We talked about Michael McDowell moving from Front Row Motorsports to Spire Motorsports.
I just never saw
That,
it coming. Like that's
no,
incredible.
no, especially when you have a driver of Michael McDowell who's been with that team for so long,
Right.
and honestly, really lifted that team into the limelight. For a long time, Front Row Motorsports was. I remember when they were starting park. Like they went out there, they started races, and they ran in the back, and they parked it a lot of times, and
Right.
those start and park days, I'm glad they're gone because they're the teams now have charters are running, full races if they can.
Yeah. Not only are they
So
competing, they're making playoff appearances and making a very
yeah,
consistent work out of finishing up front.
Michael McDowell has done great things in that 34 car. And I commend him. It's a big move to go from something that you were doing you're the lead guy. He was the lead guy at front row. Like, in my opinion, there, now Todd Gilliland is there in the 38 car. He's the only one up until like a week or so ago under contract after McDowell leaves.
Right.
And as they were rumored when the Stuart Haas thing went down, they wanted to expand, and they did. They acquired a charter. They announced that right away, almost early on. That so you had to feel like Ford had something to do with that. Ford
Right.
Motorsports had something to do with one of those charters from a Ford team going to another Ford team in Front Row Motorsports. So Front Row Motorsports had 2 seats open. Now they have one because we know now that Noah Gregson, one of those Stuart Haas drivers that was looking for a ride, is going to be driving the 34 car next year.
Yep.
I love that move. I think that that's a great pickup for. I First of all, I think it's a great pickup for Front Row Motorsports, but I really think it's
Yes.
a good move. It's a good move for Noah Gragson too. Kind of gives him a chance to be that spotlight driver again, like he kind of was at Junior Motorsports. But I'm not taking any flowers away from Todd Gilliland because Todd Gilliland's been running really well and consistent, have been showing flashes. Matter of fact, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but he's starting to see some love in the NASCAR power rankings that have been generated every week. So,
Right. I think he cracked the top 10.
yes, he did. Yeah, and they've been starting to build and put together some really good rides each weekend. So people notice. People notice those things. So
Yep.
he's trying to take the 38 and be like, well, that's cool, Noah. Welcome to the team, but I'm going to be that guy. So,
Yes.
but we'll see. It's going to be a young team, 2 younger drivers, something to build around for Front Row Motorsports. And oh, by the way, who's going to drive that third car? We have no clue yet. So keep in mind, so Ford has driver development programs. There's drivers that are looking for rides. Who ends up in that seat? We don't know. And we could know in the coming weeks. We may not know for, till towards the end of the season. But it's going to be something to watch for sure. With Front Row Motorsports getting Noah Gregson and Michael McDowell making that move over to Spire.
Absolutely.
So
talk to me a little bit. Talk to me a little bit more about Noah. He seems to have really put his head down and just gotten to work as far as his Cup career has been concerned. Now, I know he had his little hiccup last year in the first season. He got through it, got himself a ride with Haas in that 10 car. He really seems to just understand how to get the car to the finish line. He hasn't really gotten in any dust ups really since I believe it was Kansas with Ross Chastain last year, if I remember correctly. They had their dust up in the pits, but other than that, we don't hear negatively about Noah, and he's bringing home clean race cars a lot of the time. That's really good news for him because even though he was winning a lot in Xfinity, he was also tearing up a bunch of cars too. So it's really good for him to see him be finishing these races and consistently.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a young driver. He's got he might even have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from the incident that occurred last season, just to show and prove that, I may have ran my mouth and made a bad judgment call with whatever, we don't need to dive into that, but he's proving with his talent that he belongs in a Cup Series car.
Absolutely.
So, this move for him is kind of this year because we really didn't get to see anything when he was at Legacy Motor Club, and we didn't really get to see too much there. But we did get a nice sample size so far. Now the playoffs aren't here yet, so he certainly could win a race and get himself in. But I mean, points wise, he's not in any position for a playoff spot right now. I don't see that happening points wise. He'd have to win and in, and as we know, anything's possible when it comes to tracks like Daytona coming up. But heck, Daytona aside, he's had some good intermediate track runs, and who knows? Who knows? Maybe we get a playoff appearance from Noah. He could be a surprise playoff appearance.
Absolutely, and he's capable of making noise and upsetting a few drivers along the way too. If he were to sneak into the playoffs, and all it takes is another win in round 1 to get you to round 2. So. Would not be surprised. Do I expect it? Probably, maybe not this season, but I would not be surprised if Noah really starts making his name known in the playoffs moving forward.
Yeah, and I think next year is going to be a huge year for him with that Front Row Motorsports kind of. I'm sure he's
Little
going to want to.
refresh.
Yeah, and he's going to want to carry the banner there, I'm sure. So who
Right.
wouldn't? I mean, you're getting another fresh start, and I think he's just thankful that Tony Stewart and Gene Haas took a chance on him, put him in a car, and he went to work and got himself a ride for next year.
That's right. It's all about survival, it seems, with some of these guys sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. We talk about um, Noah, but another teammate of his was also looking for a ride when Stuart Haas decided to go belly up, and that would be Josh Berry. Josh Berry has had some really good runs as well. So for Stuart Haas kind of packing up shop, so to speak, they are still putting out a product that's competitive, or at
Absolutely.
least competitive enough to where they're getting people to notice. I mean, Josh Berry was out front leading laps at Pocono. He has been towards the front in a lot of the races the last couple of weeks, and he too landed himself kind of a marquee ride driving for the legendary Wood Brothers. We know now he's gonna be driving the 21 car next year for Wood Brothers Racing, which carries an alliance with Penske Motorsports.
The little baby brother of
And
Penske.
yeah, and hey, we've seen some drivers do some great things in that car, kind of one off things. But Ryan Blaney was a development driver, that came through the ranks and landed in a Wood Brothers seat, got his first win um, in his career. Ryan Blaney did with the Wood Brothers at Pocono Raceway, and then he moved to Penske, and we know now he's a Cup champion. So you know good for Josh Berry. I also think this is a huge win and get for the Wood Brothers. They got a guy who, just seems to be a clean driver who is also an aggressive driver and will do anything to run up front. And I love his story. Josh Berry's story, when Dale Jr. brought him up into his team. Josh Berry's one of those guys who had to claw and scrape his way through the ranks to get some recognition. Dale
Right.
Jr. Dale Jr. of course takes a shot on him, and this guy's winning races for Junior Motorsports, um, and then Chase Elliott got hurt, and Rick Hendrick gives a call, and Chase Elliott, when the 9 seat was open, Josh Berry went and filled in there for a while. That's a
And he did
huge
well.
opportunity. Yeah, he did, and I mean he should. The equipment's great, but it's that's a huge call and opportunity to showcase your talents, and he really proved then when he got that opportunity, got that call, he was ready, and I think he's done really well with Rodney in the 4 car this year, especially given the circumstances we now know going on. Stuart Haas, they're still in the fight every week, and they still show up. They're still showing some speed. And congrats to him on getting that ride in the 21 Wood Brothers car. I think that's going to be a fun watch for him. And if he doesn't get his first win before the end of the season this year, then I certainly would think it could happen next year.
Oh,
Um,
I definitely expect him to have a very good chance at stealing a win, maybe here in the playoffs this year, and like you said, next year for sure. Definitely look for that 21 car. And what an important win that would be for the Wood Brothers. They are still chasing number 100 for their team. They have been sitting
yes,
on 99 for I think about 6 years now, if I remember correctly. Matty DiBenedetto took over that 21 car for a few years, had a second place finish, I think once or twice, if I remember correctly, but just couldn't get number 100. So it'd be
right.
really cool. We know Harrison Burton has had his struggles ever since coming to the Cup Series. It's not for everyone, and not everyone is able to be successful. But yeah, they're still chasing that 100th win. And again, would not be surprised if Josh Berry brings that to that very very historic team.
Yeah, that would be really neat, and I'm sure um, that's something that he wants to do in the worst ways. If his first, can you imagine your first career win is in a legendary seat like the 21, and you're getting that crew their 100th win?
Oh man,
That would be, you'll never forget that, and
it'd
and
be
that would
it'd
be
be a party. That'd be for sure.
yeah, that'd be insane. And Harrison Burton, if you're out there, you could still do this. So
Absolutely,
anything
absolutely.
anything's possible. I'm not writing Harrison off into the sunset. He's still got to finish the season. So, and
Harrison
who
has
knows?
a ton of fight in him. I love the passion that he races with. He seems to be well respected among the garage within his peers. Wood Brothers obviously loves him. They gave him that opportunity in that 21. But yeah, for sure, Harrison with a shot at that 100th win, and Josh Berry moving into 2025.
Yeah. And we talked briefly about Spire Motorsports and Rowdy Busch with the wrist brace, kind of taking some of that breaking news, but there have also been rumors circulating about Kyle Busch going to Spire Motorsports. Now,
Right,
again,
that's
I
something
don't
we've
know
been
how.
chasing.
Yeah, I don't know how true this is, Don, but what do you know on that?
Listen, all I know are the rumors that bounce around on the internet, just like everyone else. We know that RCR is not afraid to buy out contracts in order to move drivers either into place or out of place. If Kyle Busch, I think Kyle Busch kind of has a resume that says if he wants out of a certain situation, there aren't many team owners that are going to hold him hostage. Especially somebody like Richard Childress. It just doesn't seem like his character to keep drivers from progressing they want to progress in their careers. So if Kyle Busch is, I don't want to say he's trying to get out, but if he is entertaining the ideas of other opportunities and is specifically the 7 car, it would be really exciting. And again, with the way Tyler Reddick was bought out of his contract to head over 2311 a couple years ago, I would not be surprised to see the same thing out of RCR and Kyle Busch. So that's something else that we will definitely be right on top of as that develops. So make sure y'all stick with us on that story.
Yeah, that'd be a heck of a pairing too if he ended up there at Spire championship caliber driver like Kyle Busch with Rodney Childers, who is also a championship crew chief,
Right.
who just puts results out on the track.
And not by accident, that's for sure.
No. Rodney's an incredibly smart man and has been in the garage a long time. And I'm happy for his opportunity at Spire. But man, what a pairing that could potentially be.
It really does seem to be trending that way, just the way everything's lining up, the struggles over it in the 8 car with Kyle, and then everything whirlwinding around Spire. It really seems to be building up to something coming.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another driver from Stuart Haas. Again, keep bouncing back to this. Another driver from Stuart Haas that was displaced and looking for a ride as well. And he found one, but that's because a seat opened up at Joe Gibbs Racing. Martin Truex Jr. announced that this is going to be his last full-time season. And he is retiring at the end of this season. His teammate, Christopher Bell, in an interview, accidentally said the word when Chase joins the team, which led us all to believe, well, is Chase Elliott coming to JGR, or is there's a Chase Briscoe as well? Yeah. And that was just a genuinely honest mistake by Christopher, because, they're all in meetings and stuff, and they're all in the garage area, tight-knit, close together. So, when the question was not even geared towards anything to do with anybody joining JGR, it was more so about leadership within meetings and how who's the local leader among drivers? Does that go off experience? Blah blah blah. And Christopher had said how some weeks Danny's the leader, some weeks Martin's the leader, some weeks I'm the leader, and when Chase joins, so it was one of those. Oops,
just how naturally it slipped out. Thank you, Christopher Bell, for leaking that for us.
Yeah, thank you for leaking. But we do know that Chase Briscoe will be taking over the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing next year, and that is something that Joe Gibbs absolutely wanted to make happen. This was not by accident. People were like, who's going to take over that seat? There were so many rumors because you have up and coming drivers like Corey Heim that are, Toyota development drivers that I personally thought might have been in that seat as well. So when they announced that it was Chase Briscoe, I was not like surprised, but I was kind of a little surprised because I didn't see that. But Joe Gibbs, this was a Joe Gibbs move. He absolutely wanted to put Chase Briscoe behind the seat of the 19 car. He believes in him, believes in his talent. Chase Briscoe's also got a dirt racing background and is somebody that Christopher Bell knows really well because of that dirt racing background. So I think that they'll have a lot of things in common as teammates that they can discuss. As we know that Denny Hamlin and that 11 team kind of have been the lead team, if there was ever such a thing, at JGR for a while. Denny was always looked at as, but Christopher Bell has totally stepped up to the plate and, has something to say about that as well. Like, hey, I'm here too. I'm here to win races. And I know Chase
He's
Briscoe.
chasing championships.
Yes, he is. And 2 years in a row, he's been in the Final Four. So I hope that that's the same this year. But I'm super excited about this opportunity to get into Joe Gibbs Racing Equipment. And I briefly, and I say briefly, chatted with him about it before the drivers' meeting at Pocono. And he just said he just had a smile from ear to ear on how excited he is for this opportunity, and that Coach Gibbs was so open armed and welcoming, and opened up the pocketbooks to bring him in and make sure nobody else had a chance to talk to him. So yeah, Chase Briscoe to the 19 car next year. So that also was some exciting news. New faces, new places, and then Martin Truex Jr. When that news broke, a lot of us, of course, longtime NASCAR fans. Martin's a likable guy. You hate to, and all the adversity he's been with outside the sport too,
Right.
with his former and late girlfriend Sherry Pollux. That was well documented with her battle with cancer, and how supportive he was with that, how supportive the NASCAR community was with that. And then, what a story, getting a call again. Dale Earnhardt Jr. found him, talent, put him in a seat, and then climbs up the ranks through the Grand National, which is now the Xfinity Series, into a championship ride at Front Row Motorsports. Of all the teams, a small team that had a JGR alliance at the time wins a championship, like shock the world type of thing.
Right.
Because they really were a small team based out of Denver, Colorado. And for those who aren't aware, majority, and I say majority only because of I think there's one shop that I can think of that comes to mind, a race team that comes to mind that's not in the Charlotte, North Carolina region, and that's Trackhouse Racing. They wanted to set up shop in Nashville, Tennessee,
Nashville. Right.
and make that their home. But it's kind of unheard of for a NASCAR racing team to be all the way out in the mountains of Colorado. But as we know, Furniture Row was the
Based out of
sponsor
Colorado.
and owner, and they're a Colorado-based company. They did a lot of great things in the sport while they were in, and Martin gave them the ultimate farewell, which was a championship. I've never ever could imagine like a guy wins a championship with the team and the team is not racing the following year. And that's when that ride opened up at JGR. And we know that he's had a lot of success in the car, in the 19 car as well, for Joe Gibbs Racing. And he'll be missed every week. But Denny Hamlin, his teammate and friend, had said, anytime he wants to race, I will find a seat for him at 2311. And it is heavily rumored that he will run several races in the 2311 car next year, including the Daytona 500. So Martin Truex Jr. fans, you're going to get to see your guy at the Daytona 500. I'm pretty sure of it.
He's not retiring for good, but he's going to be on a limited schedule, and we'll definitely still see his name on a couple more name rails moving forward. He will definitely well respected all the way across the board. Just going to be missed as a driver, as a fan favorite for a lot of people. Just enjoyed Martin at the racetrack, at the garage. He will be missed, a true champion, and definitely wish him well moving forward into the next chapters of what he's chasing.
Absolutely. Martin's a stand-up guy, and we wish him all the best. And Chase Briscoe inheriting a good team, and I hope that he's able to do good things in the 19 car as well. Now, moving on from Chase, there's still some open seats. We talked about some drivers, open seats. There is heavily rumored. Now we talked about Martin Truex Jr. driving for 2311 because Denny Hamlin said he could anytime he wanted to.
Right.
So, guy tells you that. I'm pretty sure, and Denny said it on camera, national TV. So
Right.
I'm pretty sure Denny's a man of his word there. But there is heavy rumors that 2311 wants to acquire one of those charters from, sorry, not Front Row Motorsports. My apologies.
From
One of the
Haas.
charters from Haas, Stuart Haas Racing. Now, Don, you had mentioned in a conversation that you thought you heard it was a done deal, but they had to wait to announce it, right?
So the rumor that I heard, and again, this is online, so take it for what it's worth, but 2311 made a statement back, I believe it was March, how they were not allowed to make that statement for whatever reason. I'm still digging into that more, but they said there is an announcement coming January 1st, 2025. For whatever reason, they have to wait until that date. I'm not certain of whatever guidelines that they're trying to follow and keep up with. But do expect an official announcement from 2311 Racing January 1st, 2025. And again, that's something else we will also be following because we're going to stay on top of every single subject. Everything we're bringing up for you guys, we're gonna follow and stay on top of. That way, we're bringing it right to you guys first and foremost. On top of bringing you all that news, we've actually expanded into Ryan's got the Facebook and Instagram built up, and I know we're going to try for TikTok and forgive me, what's the other one? X, Twitter.
X, yeah. Yep.
So we're definitely growing, we're definitely expanding. So we'll be able to bring y'all much more news and more frequently too.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys are dialed in because we're on top of things to engage you guys and give you that insider information, as well as bring you some cool interviews from inside the sport. I am excited to say we know we have some great things lined up and coming, and I'll keep hush for now, but it's coming soon, guys. So you want to stay tuned into our channels and our socials for sure.
And what an exciting time for a young podcast. Like y'all can see on the screen, we're 3 episodes in. We are learning as we go. We're growing organically, and Ryan, Nathan, and myself have discussed investing a little bit into the channel so that we can bring y'all more content and make it more user friendly for everyone. So it's a lot of good things are trending up for us, and we're looking forward to it, you guys.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody who has jumped on board already.
Yes.
Again, we just got these social media pages launched, and the love's pouring in already. You know, the comments coming in about our podcast. We can't do it without you guys. I mean, we can, but we would really like people to watch and pay attention to. So, but no, seriously, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I know everybody here at Side Draft Media feels the same. It's going to be a fun journey, and I'm glad you guys are along for the ride. Make sure you tell a friend because we're going to have fun with this.
Absolutely. And also, y'all drop comments down here on these videos so that we know exactly what y'all are thinking. We want to know what y'all are thinking about everything that we bring up. We want subjects that we haven't brought up on our own, things that y'all want to hear us talk about. Drop them in the comments. Let us know, and we will bring them up. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, just diving back into 2311, we talked about them expected to announce that they got a charter from Haas. That leaves one. That leaves one of the cars available or charters available to add a car to your team. Now, when Haas kind of said they were going to blow things up, there were a lot of teams that were rumored to be interested in adding and developing, cars. RFK was one of them, which we now know that RFK is not going to add a car because they developed an alliance within the sport. So if they're out, and we talked about Trackhouse Racing having an abundance of drivers and not enough seats for them, my guess, and if I were a bet man, I'd bet on Trackhouse to land that last charter. But 2311 and Legacy Motorsports and Richard Childress Racing were also two that were heavily rumored inside the garage, as talks. I just don't see Legacy Motor Club and Richard Childress Racing, and this is my personal opinion. I just don't see them being competitive enough to make it make sense to add another team at this time.
Right.
That's just my personal opinion. 2311, has been they're a young team in the sport, but they're rapidly growing. They've had the 50 car out there, with different drivers running in the 50 car for them. And that kind of makes sense because they've showed their hand. They like, hey, here's a car we can field and we can still be competitive. I know Corey Heim ran pretty well in that car, in his chance to run the 50. I know they put it on the road course out at Coda. You got to see that car run at Coda,
Got to
right?
see it in person, man. Just
Yeah.
incredible show. I know, actually, as irony would have it, that 50 car got tied up with, if I remember correctly, Chase Briscoe out in turn 9, and
Hmm.
never could quite recover. So it's one of
Right.
those road coursing things, but yeah, definitely look forward to seeing the 50 car possibly be a full time ride moving forward with 2311. Now, is the 50 car, is that the number they have actually chosen, or do they have another number lined up for that team?
I don't know. I mean, that would be, and then of course um, if they add that team as a full time charter, I, I mean, licensing and stuff already tells me they probably got that 50 on lock, and
Okay.
with number selection with NASCAR, I don't know if they would move away from number 50 or if, um, Corey Heim would be again. I thought he'd get that 19 ride. So
Right.
if Corey Heim is blowing the doors off of people in the truck series,
Do we see
he
him leapfrog Xfinity and go ahead and jump straight into Cup? Is that something one of these NASCAR teams are looking at doing?
I don't see it not happening. I mean, Carson Hocevar did it. Why not? So,
Right.
talent is talent. If you're able to jump in these cars and wheel them, I mean, Corey Heim has already shown he's had the opportunity to drive a Cup car. And I think he ran really well until he got tied up into, I believe he got tied up into an accident. So who knows? Corey Heim is a young up and coming driver, and if I was starting a race team, I'd want somebody like him.
Absolutely.
There are a handful of others as well, but again, he's a Toyota racing. He's a TRD driver, so he's already in the Toyota camp. Toyota is really good at trying to promote from within, and I believe as far as development goes, they really do have a good development program. Whereas Ford kind of lacking. I don't really hear many things of Ford development drivers. You do hear things on the Chevrolet side.
Right.
I know Connor Zilic, he's one, and Cody Day. So there's drivers out there.
Oh, I think I might have lost you for a moment, Ryan. If y'all just bear with us for 1 second. I apologize for the interruption. Ryan, let me
Here
get
I
you
am.
back in. I think I lost you for a second. Go ahead and say what you were saying, bud. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like we're having a little technical difficulties. If y'all just bear with us for 1 second. Ryan, I
Can you hear
apologize,
me?
bud. I think I got you again.
No worries. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm back.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Yeah, no biggie. Technology's great when it works.
Oh,
But
yeah.
again, yeah, there's a lot of potential drivers that could possibly be a suitor for a seat at 2311. But if I had to pick a driver that's not in the cup right now that could potentially leapfrog up, Corey Heim would be my pick for 2311. I think that's just a smart pick. A young driver you can build around.
Do you
Um,
think that Riley Herbst and his ties to Monster Energy and the fact that Monster's already locked in with 2311, would that be something to keep an eye on moving forward?
Well, that is something to keep an eye on because there are rumors that Riley Herbst could possibly be that guy, and I'm glad you mentioned that because Riley Herbst has said publicly, "I have offers in all three series."
Nice.
So, his future. I'm sure he's working hard to determine what his future is, and we don't know what his offer is, but he's riding a Ford right now. I mean, he just parked a Ford P1 at Indy this past weekend. Um, so, you know, who knows where he goes? I mean, Monster Energy ties certainly could pull him into a team that already has Monster Energy sponsorship, which the Monster Energy cars that you see in the Cup Series both are on Toyotas. So that is a possibility as well.
And both are very stingy with their logo rights.
Yeah, yeah. How about it? But the possibilities are definitely there for Riley Herbst as well, who is having a really good year in the Xfinity Series.
Absolutely.
So, and again, a Stuart Haas car. So Stuart Haas is not packed up yet. Cole Custer and Riley Herbst are in a chance to win a championship, and so they could go out on top.
Right, to be the defending champion on top of the last two winners of the last two Xfinity races. Yeah, I would say they're pretty well set moving forward for the rest of the season down there at Stewart Haas.
Yeah, and then I guess they're doing a rebrand because Haas does want to keep some Xfinity program as well. So they would just go to Haas factory team and say Stewart Haas. But still, I mean, they've been running really, really well in the Xfinity Series. So, yeah.
Absolutely. But I think we got through all of our silly seasons so far, man. Did we miss anything on there?
I don't know, man. It's been wild. So
it's been so much.
The silly season has been exactly that, silly. I mean, and it's been kind of all over the place. There's rumors swirling. But again, if anything breaks, we'll bring it to you. It's just trying to keep up with everything. But I think we got that all.
Right on. So wrapping up the silly season segment, we're going to jump right into the playoff picture, man. It's getting real heavy. A lot of drivers are scrambling to figure out how to get into the playoffs. How do we put a winning car? How do we steal one of these remaining playoff spots from these drivers that are pointed in right now? Right now, we're looking at Richmond right after the Olympic break. We're officially 33% done with the Olympic break, y'all. I mean, in a week, the drivers will be back in the shops, and then in 2 weeks, we'll be racing again. So it's going to sneak up on us real quick. Of course, all the drivers, if y'all are following them on social media, you can see everybody's enjoying their vacations. Drivers are getting married left and right. People are having a great time. People are in different countries. I mean, it's just great to see. It's great to see these guys take off the helmets, take off the race suits for a little bit, and go enjoy themselves. I don't remember the last time they got 3 weeks off. And I say 3 weeks, they're technically getting 2 weeks off. And then the third week, they're getting back to work leading up to the weekend. But I just love that they're getting time with their families right in the middle of the season, especially into the playoffs. That could really help a lot of these guys just kind of let the weight off a little bit. A lot of these guys carry so much pressure on themselves. Your Ross Chastains and your Bubba Wallaces, your Ty Gibbs, all these guys hunting playoff spots. Chris Buescher this time last year was solidly in the playoffs, and he's still above the cut line plus 17, but he's not guaranteed a playoff spot. That's got to weigh heavy on these drivers.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about Richmond, man. What do we expect to see as far as maybe an upset? You think somebody can fly in and steal another playoff spot, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Anything's in NASCAR. We've always learned that anything is possible. And that saying any given Sunday applies to football so much, but also, we have to apply it to racing because the time charts, and speed sheets are always very, very close to, so it's just a matter of who hits it on that setup and who's going to perform well. Richmond, being a short track, flat track, this new tire throws a wild card variable into it, and I'm sure we'll break that down in a lot more detail in our next episode.
Absolutely.
But yeah, absolutely, we could see a new winner, or playoff implications could be huge. The cut line is 7 points. 7 points is the difference right now. You got Ross Chastain in +7, and you got Bubba Wallace outside -7. Bubba Wallace, he might be one of those guys. Now, he probably really did want the vacation, but there and spend some time with his wife Amanda, and they're expecting, so it's nice
Right.
summer break for them. But on the other side of things, on the work side of things, they probably didn't want this break because they're on fire right now. So the pressure, in my opinion, is on the one car and Trackhouse Racing, because the 2311 crew of the 23 car is coming. The haters going to hate, but Bubba Wallace has been on fire lately. And I think that not only can he point himself in, but there's potential for him to win a race in these next 4 races as well.
Absolutely. Bubba Wallace in that 23 Toyota Camry just firing on all cylinders. Like you mentioned with 2311 as a whole, Tyler Reddick is on another level compared to a lot of these guys right now.
Absolutely.
Definitely look for Bubba Wallace to once again, if he isn't able to get a win here in the next 4 races, definitely be upsetting one of these guys, that being Ty Gibbs plus 42, Chris Buescher plus 17, and Ross Chastain plus 7. Man, with Ross Chastain, the extra pressure he's dealing with because Daniel Suarez has his playoff spot. He got that locked up. I think it was either week 2 or week 3 of the season by winning that 3 wide battle with Ryan Blaney was it Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch 3 wide for that finish.
Yeah.
So Daniel Suarez in, does that add to Ross, or does Ross just take it as any other season, any other race, and he's out there doing his job? He's not really worried about Daniel Suarez and what they're doing.
Well, I know the culture at Trackhouse Racing says differently, that it's a team, and that they're all in it together. But at the end of the day, Ross is a race car driver. He's a competitor. The one car is their own entity within that team, within that umbrella of Trackhouse Racing, and that they want to go out there and perform and win races. I don't know what they've been missing this year. It's not the typical Ross Chastain that we are used to. The team just they don't even consistently run up front. They've been more of your 8th place on back type of deal, and that's just not going to do it at the end of the day, because this program that NASCAR put together rewards drivers who win, but also the consistency factor as well. I mean, now you mentioned Tyler Reddick, and now he's on another planet right now. He has that one win at Talladega, so he's in because of the misfortune that took place and being in the right place, right time. But there's been racetracks where he's just narrowly missed a win. But the thing that you don't realize, and I've brought it up in a past episode, is Tyler Reddick is the best average finish. Him and his 45 crew, best average finished in the entire Cup Series right now. So consistency also helps. In that stage, you're getting stage points, and you're getting, the opportunities to run up front. Good things happen, like Talladega. His right place, right time. Boom, he wins a race.
With the Jordan car, and with Jordan in the pits with the team, that must have been an incredible moment for that entire organization.
Yeah, a special day for sure. But you look at some of these guys that are on that bubble. Martin Truex Jr. We've done said he's plus 108. I just don't see it. It would have to be. I know the math says it's a possibility, so that's why it's still there. That's why they say he's not locked into a playoff spot yet.
Right.
But I just don't see it happening, him not getting in. And matter of fact, Richmond is a good track for him. It's a good track for the entire JGR team. So who knows what happens there? But you very well could have Martin Truex Jr. a winner at Richmond, and then you don't even have to worry about it. But Ty Gibbs comes from JGR. You could expect him to probably have a decent car that weekend to continue trying to hold on to that 42-point cushion, because he had a couple bad races in a row with Pocono and Indy, due to mechanical issues. Buescher, yeah, you said plus 17. That's not enough.
Can disappear in one race.
One race that can be gone. So
yep.
I don't sleep comfortable if I'm Christopher Buescher. He's got to come back from this break focused and do what it takes to get his 17 car into the postseason. I know they're probably feeling the pressure. RFK does have a car in the postseason with Brad Keselowski finally getting a win.
Bad Brad.
Finally got a win as an owner this year, and it's been a long time coming for them.
And I believe that came at the misfortune of Chris Buescher and Tyler Reddick getting tangled up at Darlington, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so
and that's when Brad got his win.
Yeah, so I mean, and that looked like a race that possibly Buescher could have won just as much as Reddick. So I mean, that was a wild finish there. Darlington is the last race to get into the postseason, so that could be a redemption track for Buescher. Could be another good run there for the 45 crew, who has Tyler Reddick.
I apologize, y'all. It looks like we're
Um,
experiencing some technical difficulties again. Ryan, you want to hit me with that last sentence, bud?
yeah, I was just saying. I mean, with Tyler Reddick in his career, I don't know what it is about Darlington, but he loves that place. So, um, yeah, I mean, and then you have Bubba Wallace who ran well there. He's like I said, he's -7. He's right there. Chase Briscoe is -83. Now, again, the math tells us that it is possible, but he would need a lot of help. And
No
then
matter
where the
what, he would
math,
have to make up 21 points a race in order to make the cut line. And that's hoping that the drivers ahead of him also finish in the 30s or worse, just for him to be able to capitalize on
yeah,
that. So he's in one of
yeah,
those must wins.
he's yeah. I mean, that's where you look at 18th on down in the point standings, and you're in a must win situation. Bubba Wallace, in my opinion, is the only one mathematically that has a possibility to get himself into the postseason on points alone,
Correct.
because you have three potential people you could leapfrog on points. But based on math and bad luck at the track or whatever.
Right.
Especially if the Gibbs camp can't figure out what's going on with that 54 car and why they keep having mechanical issues. I'm sure
What
they
an
will,
what
but
an interesting turn for that 54 team. I mean, they really have put a consistent season together thus far. And the last couple weeks, when it starts getting down to the nitty gritty, and they need points, and they need to make sure they stay above this cut line, they are not getting it done, and that's becoming a very tense situation for that 54 team as the season rolls forward and we move into the final stretch of the regular season.
yeah, I mean it's not, and it's stuff that's not typical um, of JGR and of Toyota to have those engine issues like they've had.
Right.
I'm sure the TRD camp is actively involved working with Joe Gibbs Racing to figure out what's going on because they definitely don't want that to happen in the playoffs. Those
And
last 10 races of the season, they got to be firing on all eight and dotting I's, crossing T's and winning races. And they can't have those misfortunes. Nobody can afford those misfortunes in the postseason. So
how
got to iron those
concerning
kinks out now.
how concerning is it for some of the other Toyota teams, including 2311, as far as the number of engines let go? I think it was earlier this season on a different show that I had mentioned. Toyota has been really good about taking care of their motors, and then all of a sudden, Christopher Bell loses a motor. He needs help getting to the finish of one of his races. Denny Hamlin pops one on the second lap at Sonoma. He can't finish that race. Ty Gibbs drops two in a row. I mean, it's just uncharted territories for an organization, especially like Toyota, to be letting go that many engines in a
Mhm.
season.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure somebody within that organization of Gibbs and TRD know what the know what the problem was, but again, addressing how do we fix it. I'm sure their engineers are working very hard on figuring that all out because they can't afford to have that
They
happen.
can't afford
And
these kinds of mishaps, especially when the rounds start rolling into the playoffs. You miss one of these races with a DNF, man, you put yourself in a big hole trying to fight back from it. So uh,
absolutely, and
definitely
you
something
have
we'll follow.
you have two of those Toyota drivers in a chance still for a regular season championship, because
Right.
NASCAR splits the season from regular season into that playoffs to win the actual championship of the whole series. But right now you have two Toyota drivers chasing down Chevrolet drivers in that points regular season battle. Right now, Kyle Larson is the regular season leader. Um, Chase Elliott is 10 points off of him. So two Hendrick cars, two Chevys right at top, 1, 2. And then
Right.
you have Tyler Reddick in third, 15 points behind Kyle Larson. So Kyle Larson, one bad race away from possibly losing his points lead for that regular season trophy at the end of the race at Darlington. And then you have Denny Hamlin, 43 points out. Um, and Mac tells us that he has a possibility to get there still, but would need some help. So really, I mean, the regular point season battle, in my eyes, is shaping down to three drivers. You got two Chevys and a Toyota. So hopefully this is a tight, fun race to the finish at Darlington. I certainly am looking forward to seeing how that all shapes out and who wins that regular season championship because that lead has flip flopped a few times. I know even early on in the season, I'm pretty sure Truex was there in the points lead for a while. And but consistency is key for this portion of the championship points and stage points and all that stuff start to apply really in the postseason points race. So again, you could see a defending champion, well, not defending champion this past year, but a series champion in Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott win that regular season battle, or two guys who haven't won a championship in any form in NASCAR Cup Series racing, as far as Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin. Can they
Right.
chase them down? Can they chase them down and dethrone those champions and become a Cup Series champion in the sorts themselves? That would be really, it's really going to be exciting to watch.
Absolutely. I personally, I know everybody has their mixed feelings on the NASCAR playoff system and the way it's set up and everything that goes into making each round. Personally, I love it. I think it adds a new dynamic to the sport. I know a lot of NASCAR fans are fans of your footballs and your basketballs and baseballs and stuff like that, where all these guys go through the regular season and earn their spots in the playoffs, and they all start 0-0 again. So it's not exactly the same with NASCAR. You accumulate your points and you get to take that into the playoffs. But I love that it's kind of a reset thing like they do with the rest of the professional sports, and kind of bringing everybody kind of closer together and making the playoffs a really, really entertaining 10 weeks, leading all the way up to Phoenix. Are there things they can do that can make it more, more maybe beneficial towards the end of the playoffs? Maybe like a 2-race type system rather than a single race, where these guys are getting into accidents on the final race of the season at Phoenix and they're not able to recover. And I think that kind of messes with the integrity of your actual champion, not taking anything away from the past champions that have won the past few years. But I definitely think maybe a 2-race system might benefit more as far as deciding a champion at the end of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and it's funny you said about comparing this to other sports, because like I thought of it like as the college sports world, how especially like college football, like you have your Big Ten championship, your ACC championship, SEC championship, and all those things. If you follow along with college sports and how they roll into, whether it's college basketball, they win all their respected division championships and then roll into their tournaments. Or in college football, they roll into bowl games after they win their respected championships, or however their seeding works. And I think
Right.
that's kind of almost the closest thing you could compare the NASCAR playoff points to, because you have a regular season championship and then that re-rack, like you mentioned, come the playoffs. Now the playoff re-rack, again, you're rewarded for your good behavior in the regular season. Wins matter,
Right.
playoff points matter, and you get those playoff points, additional playoff points by stages in the races. And as we all
Right.
know, there's multiple stages in a race. So if you finish in the top 10, you get points that scale based off of that. So all those things play into it. Now you mentioned about the single elimination race
Or the
when it comes down to
championship.
the championship 4. So they go into that championship race with 4 drivers with a chance to win the trophy at the end of the day. The best finishing driver wins the trophy. As we saw last year, Ryan Blaney finished second in the race to Ross Chastain. Now, in this playoff format, it was the first time that a non-championship 4 driver won the actual race. Chastain had a really good car and gave Blaney fits, but he won the race. Blaney didn't have to beat Chastain, though. He had to beat those other 3
Right.
drivers. And I actually like the single elimination for the sense of the fans' view, because you get that added stress and angst and like, oh man, if anything goes wrong. Because if you think about it, in football world, and I'm a big football fan, I'm a football coach. In football world, you get one chance to win a championship.
Right.
You get one game, and that's why they have that saying, any given Sunday. So
Right.
you get one game. I mean, you saw New England Patriots team go completely undefeated, run their way through the postseason to get to the Super Bowl, only to lose to the Giants. And the Giants were, world champions. So anything is possible any given Sunday, and that's the same thing. Unfortunately, you either love it or hate it. But in NASCAR, that's where we're at, and you have that single elimination race. Now you get it's bracketed down, to reward wins and finishes, and then go get it. Best finisher gets the trophy, and that is that is kind of fun in my opinion. And if you put it into two races, then the only thing that I can think of to do is take four drivers and then you make it a final two. But then it kind of takes it back into the day where, a lot of people, I get why NASCAR did this. I think it's for viewership purposes, fan engagement.
Absolutely.
People like us give us something to fuel, something to talk about, because you've had championships won well and old point systems in NASCAR Cup racing well before that last race of the season ever came around.
We're talking
And
4 or 5 races left in the season, and nobody's racing for anything because the leader is 120 points to the good
yeah, you're
on
just
the rest
racing
of the
for
field.
wins.
Right.
You're just racing for wins. I mean, and that's the great thing about NASCAR too is, all 38 to 40 teams that show up at the track are all racing for a common goal. They're racing to win week in, week out. Whoever
Right.
shows up, they want to go out there and beat the other drivers. And that is, we get to see all of our teams in our sport compete on the same day at the same time. You don't need anything else to watch. Just you're watching everybody go at it at one shot. Whether you're in the playoffs or not, you're still competing for wins. Your sponsors want you to win. Everybody wants good results and finish. This is a result-based sport, just like most any. It's just different. And I for one, am a fan of the format. I don't want to see it get away too far from where it's at, because I think it's engaging. And believe me, as a fan, I've had my heart ripped out by this format.
Right.
Because that single elimination and because it means so much. And then you see your driver have an issue or a blunder, and it's just like, or then like, unfortunately, and I don't want to be a homer, but Christopher Bell's a driver I've supported for a long time, and 2 years in a row have had issues in that final race, and it's just like it guts you, it rips your heart out, because you want it as a fan and as a supporter of that driver, and you I probably felt just as bad as he did, and I know he felt awful after that race, but it's just like, it's that's sports though, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what makes us watch. That's what makes us tune in and engages the fans, and because that stuff can happen, and it's the unknowns.
Right.
It certainly stinks. I mean, because listen, you've had drivers that have had many wins in a season or in NASCAR. Not only that, but the fastest car doesn't always win sometimes because of strategy
Right.
or accidents or whatever. It's just it's the sport, and just like any other sport, you're going to take your lumps and you're going to have things like that happen. But I, for one, am for the engagement. I like it. I like it, and other people may not. A lot of the social media, when you read through comments and stuff, people are like, "Oh, I want the old point system back." But to me, this is not boring like that. It's definitely a lot more engaging, a lot more
You
fun.
bring up so many great points, and I'm so glad you covered so many of them. And I'm not against the playoff format or the championship race at all. I'm a person that doesn't mind trying new things. So in this instance, we've gotten our championship with a single race type format. I think it would be interesting if there was a 2 race format, just to see how it played out, and then if they needed to make changes moving forward from there, so be it. Absolutely agree with everything you said. I love the way the playoffs are shaped up. I think it really, really puts the pressure on these race teams and these drivers to perform well, knowing that in the first race of the playoffs, if you end up with a DNF, you're just climbing a giant hole trying to make it to the second round. Unless you're one of your 4 or 5 win guys like your Kyle Larsons, your Christopher Bells, guys like that are pretty safe in the first round, but that doesn't mean you're going to be safe in the second round by any means. You can't have
Right.
3 bad races in the first round. You'll find yourself at an early exit just as well as, not to name drop, but your Austin Cindricks and stuff like that are going to struggle getting out of the first round.
Well, look, I mean, it happened to Joey Logano. He really struggled in last year's playoffs,
Kyle
and
Busch.
yeah, I mean, it happens, and Logano was the defending champion.
Yep.
It's just, again, that's why we watch. That's why we tune in. And you got to be, if you're going to be a team in the postseason, you've got to be able to execute. And I'm not talking about just behind the wheel. you need to have your pit crew performing at 100%. You can't have those loose wheels. You can't have we didn't get the tank full. You can't have the sliding through your pit box. You can't have the speeding on pit road. There are so many variables and moving pieces in this that make it so exciting and make it so stressful for these teams because they
And
know
fans.
and fans because they know they got to execute. They got to
Right.
execute. Like, can you imagine Chase Elliott, how he drifted up, at the Brickyard and had to go, come in and do another a pass through penalty because he didn't exit the pits properly. Can you imagine that happens the first round of the playoffs and the implications, depending the size of the track, you could be 2 laps down.
Yep.
It's
Those types
I
of
mean,
mistakes are brutal, absolutely brutal, and they can put a team behind in a hurry.
yeah, absolutely. And then you're like you just mentioned, you're scratching and clawing to try to get yourself out. And sometimes the only way to do that is to win a race, and that even puts more pressure on you because
Right.
it's not easy to win in this sport. And I know you have drivers that have won multiple races and such, but they'll even tell you it's not easy, and you never know when your next one's going to come. So you got to appreciate everything in the now.
Absolutely. Hey, Ryan, man, we have absolutely smoked an hour for our third episode. We got one more subject to cover. It's our power rankings. Now I say our, but these are actually given to us by Bob Pockris and Fox and NASCAR. You want to go ahead and run me through the first five, starting with number 10, moving forward? Or do you have that in front of you?
Well, I do have some of it in front of me.
Okay.
Right now, after Indianapolis, looks like we have a top 10 showing Kyle Larson at number 1.
Right.
Tyler Reddick ranked at number 2. Ryan Blaney ranked at number 3. Now, 2 of those drivers have won the last 2 races, and the other finished in the top 5 in both of them. So, or I do believe maybe 6th and 2nd, but still
Right.
very, very good runs at Pocono and Indy and Reddick. You have Christopher Bell ranked number 4, Bubba Wallace at 5, Todd Gilliland at
Cracking the
6.
top 10, man.
At 6,
Good for him.
Austin Cindric at 7. I mean, I do believe that's because he got a win at Gateway, whether you like it or not. How he got it, he got it,
He
and
crossed the finish line first.
yeah, and he's been running a little bit more consistent since. So that team has really stepped it up. Daniel Suarez, he's been pretty consistent for Trackhouse Racing. He's ranked number 8. Noah Gregson getting some love at number 9, and then Chase Elliott. Wrapping out the top 10 there. So that is an interesting take. There are some drivers that you don't see in that top 10, like Denny Hamlin.
Denny's had a rough go at it.
Yeah, I mean, but he's still, when it comes down to it, he still has 3 wins and is 3rd in the playoffs. So I don't think he really cares about the power rankings. He's more so focused on
right. And for those listening,
actually,
the power rankings are not an official system. It's just kind of an idea of where your sports commentators are putting drivers in the current moment in the season. It's no official list of actually how good everybody's doing, but it's a lot of fun to follow those types of lists.
yeah.
With Denny Hamlin, we definitely need to. With Denny, it's getting intriguing because we see him in winning cars and just not producing the results like he was in the first half of the season. Whether it be getting caught up in someone else's accidents. At Indy, he ended up pitting to make sure he had enough fuel to make it to the end, and gets caught up in Ryan Blaney and John Hunter Nemechek's accident with those boys, and just immediately wrecks out of that race. So it's been a little bit of a tough go for him. Like you said, he's got his 3 wins, so he's firmly in the playoffs. But you still want to finish a regular season strong. You want momentum when you head into this first round for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that they're probably going to turn it around. Him and his crew chief, Chris Gabehart, they're on the same page and they're dialed in. And they'll be, I've listened to some of their commentary over the radio when they talk to each other. They've lost 2 races this year because of not having enough gas to finish a race.
Right.
So their strategy worked, but then didn't because they just didn't have enough to get there because of those extra laps, the green, white checkers and all those things. You can only you can only strategize a race at the beginning of the race to the end lap. You can't assume that you're going to have
Right.
a caution, So um, it's not that because Denny would probably tell you he should have another win or two, and there's probably a lot of drivers that have been really consistent that this year that will say I should have had another win or two.
Right.
But he's definitely one of them because there were instances like you said where he had to peel off and just say nope, it's not going to happen. And
It would be more beneficial to come get fuel rather than run out on the racetrack and in the day that way. So,
right,
they make decisions and they live with them at the end of the day and they move on to next Sunday.
absolutely.
Um, man, we're going to wrap this one up, Ryan. It's been a beautiful third episode. I have an absolute blast with this. I love talking racing with you guys. Again, y'all don't forget to comment so that we know exactly what y'all are thinking. We want to hear y'all's opinions. We want to engage with you guys. I know we want to start running a couple live episodes so we can actually talk with y'all in real time and respond and really just get an idea of our community that we're building here. We are going to be introducing our first official sponsor in our next episode. I don't want to leak what it is yet, but that's something we will be introducing in episode 4 coming this weekend. So y'all make sure and check that out with us. Ryan, you got anything else for me, man?
I just want to say once again that this has just been so fun to start this off with you, Don. And we shared a goal and a vision, and as well as our executive partner Nathan, who you don't see on screen, but that doesn't mean he's not putting in work with us. And
He's busting his butt behind the scenes, man.
Absolutely, and together the three of us are working to make sure that we all achieve the goal in mind with this. And again, like Don said, we need your feedback, we need your input. Please like, subscribe, comment, all those things. And if you really like what you're hearing, share it. Let people know because that would benefit us, and it helps continue to bring things. But in less than 30 days, we've been able to grow organically, pick up a sponsor, book some incredible guests coming up.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
if we were going to leak that yet, but yeah, we've got some
no,
stuff coming up with
yeah, book.
guests.
Book some incredible guests coming up. That's our goal. We want to give you that insider information. So, if we can get it, we're going to. And I really appreciate everybody that's viewing, that's been here with the start, and we want to grow with you. So, thank you again.
Absolutely. And from everybody here at Side Draft Media, Ryan, you have a wonderful Sunday evening, and y'all stay tuned. We got some special stuff coming for y'all moving forward. This is Don with Side Draft Media. This is Ryan. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.